I've got such great news for you.
For me? Okay.
Yeah. Well, you gave me that tip about the Costco find that you had heard about, and we're both
the
Costco
whiskey?
members. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Scotch. There's a difference. This is Scotch we're talking. We gotta put our put our game face on. We're talking Scotch. Dave had texted me not too long ago and said that he had heard from a sommelier. Is it specifically this person specializes in Scotch and whiskey, or are they just an overall sommelier? They know how to taste things.
They don't specialize in Scotch, no, but they are the second level of sommelier.
Wow.
Which I guess there's 3 levels of sommelier.
What a great job.
There's sort of the low level, there's the mid level, and then there's the super rare high level. But they are a mid-level sommelier, and texted me about this Scotch at Costco, because Brad, you're familiar with the phrase OEM, right? Original manufacturer. I forget what the E stands for, but it's basically when someone takes a branded, manufactured product and rebrands it, usually under a store or house name.
Yeah.
But it's the same damn thing. So, like, we've all had that. Like, I think you had the Atari set that was from Sears at one point, right?
The Odyssey 2. Yes, we love that thing.
That's going back in the day, but that was one of the, in our lifetime, one of the early OEMs was Sears rebranded with the Atari.
Well, it's like your uncle used to say, when they would buy generics at the grocery store. He'd say, well, they're bottled at the same factory. It's the same stuff. And like many people in that generation, he was right. A lot of times it just was the stuff that was made at the same factory. Some of it got branded, and then the rest of it they put out through a generic label.
Right. And so in this conversation that I was having with the sommelier, they mentioned how the Costco branded Kirkland signature Scotch. I forget what did I texted it to you?
It was 15-year-old Scotch. Kirkland
Scotch
brand. Yes.
But it was actually Macallan 15-year, right?
15-year.
Which retails for like $150, but the
$169. Thank you very much. Old Uncle Brad looked into this.
But the Costco version, I guess, costs
$95.
So anyway, long story short, apparently Costco does this with a couple things. They do it with like the thing that's French vodka, quote unquote,
right,
is apparently Grey Goose and this and that. But I text Brad because I know he's a Scotch guy, and I say, hey, you need to know that this is Macallan. And he goes, I've never seen my friend light up more. I've told the birth of his children, not as big a deal. Brad immediately jumps in a car and heads to Costco.
Well, I looked at my wife and I said, hey, we got to make a special trip to Costco because, this we got to pick up a bottle of this 15-year Kirkland signature. And she says, we're not going anywhere. I said, what do you mean? She says, they don't sell alcohol at the Pennsylvania Costco. I said, that's fine. We'll go to New Jersey. We'll go across the old Ben Franklin Bridge, make a day of it. She says they don't carry it in New Jersey either. I said, are we going to have to go down to Baltimore to get a bottle of Scotch? Which I'm not against, by the way. We've got a great crab place down there that we have on a couple of occasions just piled the kids in, made the 2.5-hour drive down to Baltimore just to get crabs and then turn around and come back.
Wow. And
so she said, maybe Maryland, but she says, don't forget, she says, my brother and his wife, they live in Cleveland. If anybody has alcohol at the Costco, it's going to be Ohio. Right?
Brad, you're not going from Pennsylvania to Ohio just for a bottle of Scotch, are you?
No, because Ohio also did not have alcohol at their,
so
or at least they didn't have this one, right? So then my sister-in-law calls her parents that live in Michigan and have a Costco membership, and guess what? The Michigan Costco had the Kirkland 15-year-old Scotch. So her mother is buying it. Next time they see them, they're going to hand it off to them. And then when we come across, I think we're going to see this family and my little nephews in May. They're going to bring it across here. And then sometime in May, I will have a nice 15-year-old Macallan in a Kirkland bottle. And you're going to see a guy living his best life.
Brad, this sounds like someone trying to sneak state secrets out of a country. Like, listen, you're gonna meet somebody on a bridge. They're gonna give you the password. You're gonna give them the 15-year Costco scotch. You're gonna I mean, you've involved like 5 family members now. What have I done? My God, it's just scotch, Brad.
but listen, Macallan is a very good scotch, and a 15-year-old Macallan that goes for $169. Is selling for under $100. You can't not have a sip of that scotch.
So for people not in the U.S., this is 3 different branches of Brad's family. And how many states driving? This is 3 states, 4 states?
Pennsylvania to Ohio to Michigan. But you've got to remember, Pennsylvania is a very long state. It's Philadelphia on one side, Pittsburgh on the other, and Alabama in the middle. So you've got to go all the way across Ohio up to Michigan, and this is going to be a well-traveled bottle of scotch.
I'm excited for you. Oh, now, by the way, what if you get this 15-year bottle of scotch and you're like, that's not very good. I don't really like it.
You know what? I don't know what I'm going to do then. I mean, listen, I have yet to meet a scotch that I didn't like. I've had a few whiskeys that I really couldn't finish. There was one that had a peanut butter flavor to it. But I've never...
to hell with you.
But I've never met a scotch.
On that note, I'm cutting off my friend and saying hello, everybody, and welcome to Comic Lab, the show about 15-year scotch and making comics.
And peanut butter whiskey. And making a living from comics. I'm Brad Geiger, the author of the Webcomics Handbook and the creator of Evil Inc.
And I'm his friend Dave Kellogg, cartoonist of Drive and Sheldon and co-director of the comics documentary Stripped.
And this week's Hour of Comics Advice is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend. We've got a fantastic show lined up for everybody. And before we even start, though, we want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, not only of this episode, but for the quarter of Comic Lab. And that's going to be for the Huion Canvas 22. This is the 3rd generation. And both Brad and I have got it. Oh, my God, we're using the heck out of it. We love this thing. It's so beautiful.
It's fantastic. This is like an entry-level flagship for Huion.
That's a good way to describe it, an entry-level flagship. I like that.
If you're thinking about getting into digital art and you're like, I want to start out on the right foot. This Huion Canvas 22, this is the 3rd generation that's just coming out this year. We're going to be talking about it in the middle of the show, but it is absolutely fantastic. And in case you need a little enticement, we're going to tell you in the middle of the show how you can get a 5% off discount just for being a Comic Lab listener.
So we are super happy to have them on board as sponsors and give a huge shout out to Huion as we start the show. And Brad, let me start the show by asking you a question, my friend.
Yeah.
That comes in over at patreon.com/comiclab and says, Brad and Dave, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on a 2-page splash, Brad? 1 image across 2 book pages. Have you ever done one? Why or why not? And when do you think it's appropriate, if ever? Brad, I want to talk to you about your splash.
I'm going to have a splash of scotch in a couple of months here that I'm looking forward to.
No, so a splash page, for people that don't know what a splash page is, Brad, first give them the 5-cent version of what a splash page is.
A splash page was something that started in the heyday of superhero comics in the 60s, and it was the first page of the comic book, and a lot of times it had the title, the headline of the chapter, a lot of time the credits, and it was just one big image that was supposed to obviously be like a splash and to really grab your attention. Depending on which comics historian you're talking to, there were a lot of reasons for the splash page. One of them, like I just said, get your attention. The other reason, according to some, is that this was kind of like a free page, right? It was one image. You weren't drawing a whole lot of panels on that. And for the amount of pages that these folks had to crank out back in the day, at least they had one that they could get through real quick and then get on with it and hit their page count. So some comics historians will tell you that it was kind of like an easy way to help get to their page count. The other thing is that it also was a real big attention getter for that first page.
Yeah, I always like to think of it like, imagine you're a kid on a comic book shop or at a spinner rack, and you're looking through a bunch of different comics. A splash page could tell you instantaneously, like, you're gonna love this because look at this, Supergirl, she's flying through the air, but she's also holding up a bus and Liz great.
Yeah.
So it's fun for the artist. It's fun for the reader. It's a little bit like the throwaway panel for a Sunday comic strip.
That's a really good way to put it.
In that it's the fun panel, it's the fun page. So I use splash pages in Drive a fair amount. I would say 1 out of every 20, 1 out of every 30 pages is a splash page, because anytime you do a major space battle, for example, in Drive, you need a couple extra inches, a little more real estate to do it. So I do single panel splash pages. But I will be honest in answering this question asker's question, which is the only time I have done 2 contiguous or continuous splash pages where one image stretches across 2 pages has been in a book for an image created for a book. Like it's usually on the interior of a cover, or the cover itself sometimes has been a splash page if you think about it that way. But the interior of a cover or some sort of spread inside the book that I drew something special for the book. How about you, Brad?
I do splash pages at the beginning of every chapter. My chapters tend to be 20, 30 pages long. And then there's a story that begins and ends in that. There's longer storylines, obviously, that overarch. But I try to have an A story and a B story. And so that begins and ends. And then it goes on to a new chapter. Well, I do a splash page for the same reason that I elucidated earlier in this conversation. Elucidated. I elucidate all the time.
Have you hit the 15-year McKellen already? Elucidated? For the same reasons that I elucidated that earlier in the show.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. No, but I do it for the same reason. In other words, I have that big image that I can then use in promotion, right? Because I don't have a lot of word balloons and stuff. It's a big grabber image. So I'll actually do 2 splash pages. One that's kind of the cover of the comic, as it were, and the other is a traditional splash page. And one will be story A, and the other will be story B, right?
I see. Yeah.
So I'll do splash pages all the time. Also, for the same reason, it gives me a free week. I can ramp up. I can get a little bit ahead of things, and also I can use it for promotion.
So I want to balance that thought against what the question asker was asking, because they're asking if it's ever appropriate for what I would imagine would be a webcomic, where you have a 2-page spread, because you're saying like it gets you ahead, it buys you a little something, which is fair. But one of the considerations we always try to talk about on the show is that anytime you put up a new comic, any day for your website, there is somebody new coming to the website that day. And so even on the use of a splash page, you want to be able to welcome that person in, give them a reason to come back, give them a reason to want to see more.
Yeah.
And so I very often, and this is just me, I'm not speaking for Brad here, I very often only include a splash page for Drive as an appendage to whatever full story page I have on there. So that by the time you're done reading, you're like, not only did I get a splash page, I got a sense of what this story is that Dave's telling. Hey, I'm intrigued. You know what? I'm going to stick around, or I'll save it, or I'll put it on my RSS, or I'll sign up for the mailing list. So it gives a person a reason to stay. So the problem that I'm leaning towards here, for someone that's putting up a 2-page spread of a splash image, is that what does it leave the reader, Brad? You know what I mean?
It's a great point. And it drives to a deeper point that we talk about quite often on the show. And that is, especially for people doing long form comics, one of the biggest mistakes they can make is think that they can just put up the pages of a graphic novel in, like the pages that they would prepare for a printed graphic novel, that they can just take and put one of those pages up on the web. Right. We've talked all the time how a page is 1 unit of a graphic novel, but an update is 1 unit of a webcomic. And an update has to have an entry point and a significant ending point, right?
And it has to be satisfying in completeness, as much as one can be complete in the update. Yes, absolutely, Brad.
And that's why sometimes like Evil Ink, an update on the web is 1/2 of a page of the Evil Ink graphic novel. Conversely, if it takes you 2 pages to get to something significant, then you have to consider that for the web. Now, here's where that applies to your 2-page spread. If you want that for your book, I've got no problems with that. That's fantastic. It's probably going to look really good in your book. I can't wait to see it. But that's probably not going to translate very well to the web. Number one, you're going to have to reduce it awfully small so that I can see it on my iPhone screen. And it's going to be a horizontal, and horizontals are not quite as good because your iPhone screen is portrait mode, right? So it's going to be horizontal. It's going to be squeezed. You're going to, if you make that decision, you have to realize that on that day, you're not going to be doing a lot of reader retention. You're not going to be doing a lot of audience building. And that's okay. You can have a day like that.
You can have those every once in a while.
The problem is when you make decisions like that over and over and over, and it starts to have a cumulative effect of not building audience and not retaining readers. And then that becomes a problem. But for an every once in a while thing where you want to do this because I want that for the book, you post that on that day and you know that, okay, you're not doing audience building on this day. You come back strong with your next update and focus on audience building again, making sure that you're writing that or presenting that in such a way. Might not be the way you write it. Remember, there's 1,000 different ways you can post something on the web. It does not have to be a lovingly accurate portrayal of the page of your book, right? But yeah. I mean, think about it. You could take a panel from the previous page and use that as a lead-in to today's update on the second page. Nothing's stopping you from doing that.
Nobody's stopping you. Yeah, you're right.
In fact, what I've started doing on Reddit, because I've gotten a lot of traction and I want to maximize it, I've really concentrated on this in terms of I want to give that person an entry point. So sometimes I've just taken a panel, erased all of the word balloons to give me a nice blank background, and just said, and put type in there that said previously on Evil Ink, this character did that and is now trying to do this.
Right.
Boom, gives them an entry point and gives it's that panel is never going to appear anywhere in print. I bastardized it from some other place that I grabbed and I looked at and said, oh, this is a perfect panel to start that off with. But it gave me an entry point so that the people reading weren't dropped in the middle on page 12 that day and had to figure something out. So I give them an entry point. And again, like we always say, give them a point of significance. Make that a satisfying reading experience by the end. So if you want to do a 2-pager, that's fine. Just come back strong next time with reader retention. You're not going to hurt yourself one little bit.
Yeah. The only other thought I had on this, which is this is designed uniquely for the formatting and display of an opened book. And I can't think of a satisfying way to make an image that is going to be particularly wide and not particularly tall when it's in JPEG format look good on the web. Do you know what I mean? Like you're going, like if your website is formatted to do single page displays, which I imagine it is, or break it up by panels, either way that your website does it, whether it's mobile or desktop display, it's going to be really tricky when you suddenly have this super wide, not very tall image in a 2-page spread. So it's just something to consider is that it's going to look great in the book. It might not look great on the website at all.
Might not look great in the book either. There's a lot of considerations you've got to take into account if you're going to do a 2-page spread in a book, because you can't just say, oh, here's one half of the page, here's the other half of the page, because a certain amount of that image is going to go into the spine. And you have to account for that.
100%.
So you have to know the width of the spine, have to account for the curve. You can't just You can't just slap it on. And there's I'm sure certain formulas that exist. I haven't had to do this in ages. I can't remember the last time I did this in a book, but setting that up so that it looks good, so that you don't have a whole bunch of stuff in the middle that's just missing because it's in there glued into the spine. Takes a lot of doing. This is a very careful thing that you're going to want to do your research on before you just slap it in the book. Because this, unless you're doing like something with the staple saddle stitch binding, and then you're going to be okay. But anything that's got a significant amount of pages to it, take your time and do some research on setting that up right, because there's some pitfalls in there.
There's some pitfalls. I'm going to super co-sign what Brad just said, and I'm going to add on to it saying that the way your two-page spread will read at the beginning or at the end of a book is very different than how it will read in the middle of the book, where the spine bends differently. So I'm agreeing with Brad, and I'm saying that even within the same book, a spread can look and read differently at the beginning or end of a book, where the spine can open more fully versus in the middle of a giant book, like a 200-page book. And then the other thing that I was going to say is just a forewarning that every artist has to learn the hard way. If you have an image that is crossing the spine of a two-page spread, and Brad and I have done this before ourselves, if that is the character, like let's close your eyes and sort of imagine Superman flying horizontally, but he's cut off at the waist between the split, right? That's fine. People have done that throughout history. Everyone's done a two-page spread with that. But if for any reason that character comes out misaligned between the two pages, nothing is more psychologically jarring than looking like a magician's assistant being cut open in a box. You know what I mean? Where it's like one page is 1/8 of an inch higher than the other page. God, is that unsatisfying as a reader. So a lot of artists have learned to basically nudge their images one way or the other. You know, if you're going to do a pretty two-page spread, try to avoid single images within that image, some characters or a tree or a car that would otherwise have to line up across two pages, because you can't 100% guarantee that that's going to work.
Everything you said is right. I'm just going to put it in stronger language. Don't do it until you become really, really good, until you've had a couple test runs and you see the cause and effect over and over. Maybe the third book down the road, you can put something important in the middle. But if this is your first book, don't put anything important in the middle. There's got to be something in the middle that you can do without, or is like it in Dave's outer space, a spaceship flying through space. That spaceship is not going to be in the middle, and the only thing in the middle is going to be stars.
Yes, yeah, you're not wrong. Literally, Beth and I just had this conversation yesterday about a thing we were planning out.
And you're somebody that's been doing this for a long time, and you, a seasoned vet, are making the conscious decision: don't put anything important in the middle, right? Yeah. I think it's the same thing for our
and cheated away from the spine, which is a version of what Brad was saying earlier. Know that anything within a half inch of the spine is kind of a danger zone, because it's you don't want to have people to have to bend open their book in an unnatural way to see what you're trying to put in that little area. So just cheat it away from the spine. So So can it be done? Yes. Should you do it often? Dear God, no.
I wouldn't.
Will it maybe look weird will it look beautiful in the book, but look weird on the web? Yes. These are the trade-offs. Brad and I have had all sorts of trade-offs like this in terms of how we display things in a book versus a website. But you can absolutely do it and do it with joy, just with the considerations that Brad has suggested up at the top there.
Yeah, absolutely. And good luck. Let us know how it turns out.
Yes.
Speaking of things turning out perfectly, I love it when it turns out perfectly that we can share good news about a sponsor with our audience, especially when it's equipment that we use ourselves. And that means that it's time for me to talk about the Huion Canvas 22. This is the third generation. This is generation 3 of their entry-level flagship product. And oh man, I really enjoyed using the previous version. This thing takes all of that and brings it to a whole nother level.
Absolutely. So I've been using Huion for about a year now. Brad's been using it for about 3 years now. I've absolutely loved what we've been able to draw on it. And so this one, the Canvas 22 third generation, this one's geared towards both from art students, freelance illustrators, 3D modelers, animators, video editors, design professionals, like the whole gamut, because this is one of those machines that can, honest to God, it can get you where you need to go in terms of 2.5K resolution. It looks gorgeous when I'm drawing a drive scene. I want to see how that's going to look at print, and that kind of resolution can get me what I need to see on screen right there in front of me. You know?
Absolutely. It's a nice, roomy 21.5-inch pen display. So you've got lots of room to work there. But I'm just going to go down some of the specifications here and talk about them. 2.5K QHD resolution. Now, what is QHD? That's quad high definition. What that means is it's got a greater pixel density on that screen, so you're going to get more vibrant colors, more accuracy, and more resolution to your image. 90 hertz refresh rate. What I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, that sounds impressive. What does it mean? This is kind of cool. The previous refresh rate on a lot of these similar models is 60 hertz refresh rate. That means you're not going to get a blur. If you're a fast sketcher, and if it kind of bugs you that you're sketching and your cursor turns into a blur, this is going to keep up with your fast sketching and give you a lot more accurate read on what you're doing as you're in the drawing process.
Both more accurate, and I've noticed more easier on my eyes versus drawing tablets and displays that I've used in the past, where like my eyes get tired because the refresh rate is not there. And honest to God, and so the other thing I wanted to talk about with this is that so I have used I don't know how many displays over the years, 4 displays, and the pen technology on this one. I've loved both the feel of the pen, the pull of the pen across the screen, the quality of the line, and the affirmation that I get in immediate real-time confirmation between my eye is matching what my hand is doing, is matching what the screen is showing, and it's all coming out beautiful. And that's the PenTech 4.0 technology, which has like a bonkers level of sensitivity, 16,000 levels of sensitivity. So I am super happy. It's probably my favorite pen display tech that I've ever used. Yeah,
it's got a natural pen feel, precise pressure sensitivity. And Dave, if you're like me and you hold your pen at an angle, I don't know, you see some of these people, they hold their pen straight up and down. I don't know how they do it. I hold mine at an angle, right? Like a normal person.
Like a normal drawer, yeah.
This will accept plus or minus 60 degrees. You can hold that pen at a natural angle for your hand, and it'll still have all of those pressure sensitivities, all of those natural feel that you come to expect with a Huion product.
Right. And you've seen in my studio, Brad, I have like 15 sources of light in terms of I have that specialized desk that I built that has the above light, the interior light, the desk light, and then I have the lights in the room. And the nice thing about this, and then I also draw right next to a gigantic window in Southern California. So what I'm getting at here is that like, in the past, I have had displays where the glare was like, I either had to turn off all the lights in my office, or I had to pull up these special blinds that I bought custom just to get the light out of the room. Not a problem anymore. With the etched glass on this baby, there's not a glare in sight. It's super great in high light, low light, mid light, not a problem. In direct light, I love the way that this thing works in the lights in my studio.
You're talking about that glass, and the thing that I noticed when I was drawing on this thing, it feels a lot closer to drawing on paper.
Oh, it does. You're right.
If you remember way back in the day, when we would get some of these early versions, like 20, it feels like years ago, it took these companies a little while to get to the point where they really made it feel like you were drawing on paper. This has that. They've really refined that feel of drawing on paper, and this thing is going to resist scratches a lot better because it's just made to be more durable and more, this is something that you're going to want to take with you as you're traveling to different places. This is going to stand up to that.
Yeah. And the size is really nice too, in the sense that like I have had the gigantic ones in the past. I've had the small ones. Like, for example, I love my Canvas 13-inch, the third generation for that one. That one's my travel one. I was just drawing with that one at a track meet actually yesterday. But the 22 is nice because it has that perfect size of like, the display is wide enough for any of the big, swoopy, large muscle movements you want to do as an artist, which are sometimes harder on the smaller ones. But it's also not so gigantic that you couldn't bring it anywhere you want to in your life, and set it up on a desk, set it up on a table, set it up in a coffee shop. Yeah. And it comes with everything you need in terms of it has gloves, which you long ago told me. Yes. It has a drawing glove, which you long ago told me was the great way to go, and I resisted it. Yeah. And now, because it came with this one, with the Canvas 22, I got to tell you, I'm loving the glove. I didn't think I was going to love it.
I got to the point where, like, if I misplace my glove, I can't start drawing until I've got it on because it feels ridiculous. Yeah, you put that glove on, your hand slides right across that screen. And the fact that they've got that right there ready for you is kind of a sign that this is a company that has it all covered. Like the attention to detail.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So listen, we have put up a special link over at comiclabshop.com. It'll take you right where you need to go. So that's one word, comiclabshop.com. Yeah. It'll take you right where you need to go. And then when you get there, for an extra 5% off, you're going to want to use the discount code ComicLab5. That'll get you 5% off. ComicLab 5, the number 5 after the word Comic Lab. Enter that in as the discount code, and bing, bang, boom, you got 5% off, my friends.
Now, I'm going to make sure that you can find all that stuff in the show notes. So if you want to go down there and click on the link in the show notes or kind of refresh your memory of what we talked about, I'm going to have all that stuff down there. I'll include some of the specifications, all that stuff, so you can review it. But this is a special exclusive discount just for Comic Lab listeners. I don't know if anybody else is getting this 5%. You're getting this 5% because Huion knows that this is the crowd to really talk to this about. So go over to comiclabshop.com, use the coupon code ComicLab5, get your 5%. And by the way, this has happened before with previous sponsorships from Huion. Jump into that Discord server and let us know how you love this equipment. We've had so many happy backers jump into Discord saying, I got my Huion and I love it. And we love to hear that because obviously we don't sponsor stuff unless we've got firsthand experience with it. We're very, very comfortable with Huion. We love what they're doing, and we love the ability to bring this exclusive discount to you.
Absolutely. And Brad, speaking of hearing from folks that are listening to the show, if you've got a comment or a question or something that you want to say directly in your own voice, don't forget that Brad has set up ComicLab Confab, the greatest name ever. It's a phone number where you can call and leave a message, and you can dial 1, that's the country code, 609-379-3520. Leave a comment, leave a question, leave a critique of Brad and Dave, or any of the above over at ComicLab Confab. We actually really are enjoying listening to the voices and the questions that we get. And it's fun to just get questions in someone's voice, So,
and that number again is 1-609-DRY-ELBOW, DRYELB0, Dry Elbow.
Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on Comic Lab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics. And listen, while we're doing updates, Brad, the one thing that we want to talk about, because we like to keep people abreast of how it's going to impact their business, is given the sudden spike in oil prices, the United States Postal Service is doing something that I don't think they've ever done before.
No,
Brad.
It's the first time in history they've done it. I found that fact in my reading yesterday.
And what we're talking about is a fuel surcharge, and it's going to only be applied to packages. So not mailed envelopes, not letters, not anything that would traditionally be considered post. But if it's a package, it's going to get an 8% fuel surcharge. And I don't know how long that's going to last, but I would imagine it's going to last for a year or two because oil prices are not coming down anytime soon. So I want everybody listening, if you are a shipper, if you are doing a Kickstarter, you need to factor in that fuel surcharge of 8% into your considerations.
That's going to start in April, and it's going to last until January 17th, 2027. That's the plan right now. It says here that
I didn't see the last part about that, about the ending.
If it is approved by the Postal Regulatory Council, which I would imagine it will be, if that happens, the surcharge will take effect April 26th and remain in place until January 17th, 2027. Now, conventional wisdom says, like Dave has told you in the past, talking about tariffs, that once they have these sources of income, they are very reticent. Any government agency, any business is very reticent to give that up. So I am not myself personally optimistic that we're going to see prices come back down. If I am doing my Kickstarter planning, I'm planning for the higher prices, even if it's after January 17th, 2027, because I'm just expecting those to stay up, right?
Yeah. And so listen, what does this mean for you, not only when you're going to ship this package that you've got to ship this week, but for the future? Well, something Brad and I have talked about in the past is when you're planning out your Kickstarter, when you're planning out your products, one of the reasons why I set my price points for most of my products at 5 times the cost of what it costs me to make it is to allow for a buffer zone for things like this. Yeah. Because for lost product, damaged product that went missing in shipping, and for weird package fuel surcharges that have literally never happened before, you've got to have some sort of buffer, or else, like Brad had when he was doing certain kind of shipping, you take the loss on it, and you're like, well, what am I even doing here if I'm taking a loss? So you've got to, what I'm getting at here is that for long term, for your business thinking, build in a buffer on your pricing for stuff like this, because if it's not this, something like this will happen in the next 5 to 10 years, as we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years, whether it was COVID, whether it was fuel surcharges, whether it's this or that, something always comes up to a little bit eat into your margins.
Yeah. And it's going to be something that Dave and I and a bunch of other cartoonists are probably going to be talking about this August at the NCS Reuben Awards and Annual Conference over in Columbus, Ohio.
That's right. We probably will. And if you want to join us, what a great transition. I'm always so impressed by him. If you want to join us, you're going to want to head over to National Cartoonists. That's plural, nationalcartoonists.com, and get tickets. You can either get tickets as a full-fledged member of the National Cartoonist Society or as an attending non-member of the NCS, that means just the general public. You can just get tickets for Brad and my ComicLab talk with 3 fantastic cartoonist panelists, Jim Davis, Kathy Geiswhite, the legal panels, the 10-minute Toon Talks of people doing their specialized things, the keynote speaker. You can sign up for all of it as either an attending member of the NCS or as a public member coming to see the talks.
As a matter of fact, I just got done jurying some of the categories as part of the NCS.
Did you? All right.
They have all kinds of categories, obviously newspaper comic strips, online long form. One of the categories was editorial cartoons. And it reminded me that you had told me not so long ago that you had kind of some thoughts about editorial cartoonists on social media.
Oh, I did. And so let me set the stage for this for folks. So when I tweet I don't tweet, I'm on Blue Sky, but when what do they call it, a skeet? I don't want to call it a skeet.
I will not use that word.
I don't like skeet. It sounds like, I'm just going to be honest, it sounds like a biological function if you've had like a burrito that went sideways and you're like, oh, geez, I think I'm going to skeet. I don't like the word skeet. It doesn't have good mouthfeel. Yeah. So anyway, I was tweeting for an average comic, I will get anywhere between 5 and 50 retweets, 50 on a really good day, right? Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is I know what to expect as a response to the average Drive, the average Sheldon, the average Anatomy comic that I tweet on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
The other day, I tweeted something about, in fact, speaking of USPS fuel surcharge pricing, because the price of oil in LA was starting to get past $6 a gallon. I think there was one station that was at $7 a gallon.
Holy moly.
I tweeted, I said, hey, pals, just to let you know, I have absolutely adored my EV car. I love it. If the price of oil is having you on a car hunt, I just want to tell you from friend to friend, I have loved my EV, right? Nothing inherently political, just saying I've literally adored my EV. And it's great. And I love it. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to help. And so I put my email on there. And by the way, if you have a question, email me at david@davekellet.com. I'm happy to help. And what I found fascinating, Brad, is for me, who has previously turned off a lot of keywords on Blue Sky because I wanted it to be mental health wise. I wanted it to be a place of rest from the news. Like when I want the news, I will go to the news sources that I subscribe to and I will read them.
And you're not looking for news on social media anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So I happened to mute a billion political words on Blue Sky just because I don't want it necessarily. This is just totally subjective. I don't want it on my Blue Sky. I want entertainment when I go to Blue Sky. Anyway, long story short. So I haven't seen a lot of editorial or political cartooning because a lot of them will have keywords that immediately get muted on my feed.
Right.
Long story short, I tweet this thing about this political, this non-political tweet about EVs. Somehow, Brad, using the word EV or electric vehicles or anything along gas or internal combustion engine triggered a shit ton of bots and algorithms on this tweet, where suddenly I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of retweets, thousands of likes, a bunch of commentary, and a bunch of honestly algorithmic responses that I could tell a human didn't write. You know what I mean? Like if I was going to do talking points, if I was an oil company about what was wrong with EVs, I would set up bots to say this, and this to people.
Interesting.
Basically planting what's called fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, which is used a lot with transitions like this. Anyway, long story short, it made me realize, Brad, this very specific thing made me realize that it actually must be hard to be an editorial or political cartoonist on social media because as soon as you do the daily thing that you do as an editorial cartoonist about like, hey, look at this thing that Trump did, or hey, isn't the EU doing something wrong when they do this? I'm imagining, Brad, that it triggers a billion bots right away as soon as you tweet that, right? So my thought to you, and this is the thing I wanted to bring into the show, is I can imagine a world where an editorial cartoonist thinks that they're doing great. Look at the number of retweets I'm getting, Brad.
Yes.
Look at all the engagement I'm getting, Brad. All these likes, all these people commenting. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad or different. Look at all the retweets. Look at all the engagement. When in fact, they might just be on the daily triggering a bunch of botnets. And then they go to put out a book or a Kickstarter and it's crickets. I could see that happening and I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I don't know that there's ever been a more difficult time to be an editorial cartoonist than right now. And I don't say that to be doom and gloom, but when you think about just how divisive politics in general are, it's no longer you can have a polite conversation if you disagree with somebody. It immediately becomes, the claws are out. And like you just said, it's really tough to tell if you're getting any real engagement at all. Think about what an editorial cartoonist would have to do to make a Patreon work. That person, for any kind of exclusive content, that person who is a prospective Patreon backer has to be so into what you're saying that it becomes an outgrowth of what they are as a person. And then once they become a Patreon backer, all they're seeing is stuff that they just kind of automatically agree with. And I don't know that that's a fulfilling experience over and over and over again. Every now and again, you want to get challenged by a new idea here and there. But I don't know that that happens outside of what used to be the newspaper editorial page, where you didn't have any control over what you saw that day. And some days it was somebody that said something you really agreed with. Other days it was something that was challenging or you outright didn't agree with it. The newspaper editorial page was kind of the perfect place for a political cartoon. Now I see if there's any political discussion that falls into that category, you're much more likely to see a meme than a political cartoon, even though they're both very similar in style and function. Memes are going to be what it gets gravitated towards automatically by today's audience. I don't know what the heck you do with something like that. And then, of course, knowing full well that as soon as you take a firm stand on this, that, and the next, you've obliterated your chances with half of the audience, right? Because again, there is no gray. There's only black and white. And then once you get that audience, you better not say anything inside that category that is outside of the step, because then you're no longer accepted by the group that used to accept you. You know,
I see what you mean. Yeah,
it's just and I say this with real sadness, because this was my first direction in comics. Was I grew up loving Marvel comics and comic books. By the time I got to college, I wanted to be a political cartoonist. That was the whole direction in my life that I really wanted. And for a good part of my 20s and early 30s, that was going to be kind of the direction I wanted to head into. So I love political cartoons. I really have a respect for what you can do in that medium. I don't know how you do it today. And especially with what you're talking about, I don't know how you do it and make that audience grow on social media.
It was the first glimpse that I have had, because I do about as far away from political cartooning as you could do in terms of between Sheldon or the Anatomy of Animals or Drive, which is a standalone sci-fi story that's set in the future and has nothing to do with current politics. So like, I guess what I'm saying is I never dip a toe into those waters of being political or timely or topical or anything like that. And so the one time I even vaguely did in what I thought was a non-political post, I was just talking about my love for my electric car. It was interesting to see how it immediately triggered a bunch of agendas that were clearly set up with algorithms and word spotting by botnets, and it doesn't matter what the agendas were. I'm just saying, I know that, like, it's a version of what I said a couple weeks ago. I ain't that pretty. So when I suddenly get a bunch of attention, I'm like, there's something else happening here. And this was the first glimpse that I had of what I think editorial cartoonists must experience online, which is they're just sharing their cartoons with what they think are human readers.
Right.
But I bet that it triggers a billion botnets and a billion agendas and a billion, fake accounts doing somebody's agenda, and it doesn't matter what it is. And I don't know how they navigate those waters. And like you said, I just don't know how to advise an editorial cartoonist or political cartoonist to walk in those paths, because how do you know how big your audience is if you're triggering botnets that are retweeting you 1,000 times a day? Like, if I only had that EV tweet to go by, I would be like, wow, look at how amazing I am. People are loving what I've got to say. And by the way, it was 99% fake people, I'm sure, you know?
And you could have been fooled into thinking maybe I should do more content on EVs.
Yes,
right?
Yes,
by
that's
fake
exactly
internet
true.
points. Yeah. And I've seen that happen.
Yeah. And then I go to Patreon or I go to Kickstarter and it's crickets.
Right.
And I'm like, well, wait, where are all these people? I had all these fake internet points.
Yeah.
Well, no, you just happen to trigger a bunch of botnets, and so you thought those 1,000 retweets meant something. No, Dave, you just got a bunch of algorithms suddenly kicking in on keywords that you had used, and so anyway, long story short, we don't often talk about it, but because it's been a frankly dying art form. But this was just another nail in the coffin that I had never experienced before about like how hard it must be to be an editorial cartoonist and to judge what's real in your reactions, your readership reactions, and your fan base. Yeah. Because you don't know. You don't know.
It's really disappointing. It's really disappointing. To turn away for a little palate cleanser from that, I've got to close out the show. A fun question that came in from Mike over on patreon.com/ComicLab, who says, what's the deal with the Susan MacTaggart bit? Is it a parody of a real person or a satire of motivational speakers in general? And then he goes on to ask if there's a difference between parody and satire. But more importantly, I'd love to hear the backstory. So talking about Susan MacTaggart, who is a character that you have brought onto the show, talked a little bit about where that character came from. Tell us, what's the deal with Susan MacTaggart?
Well, before I do, I just want to say, Mike, with love in my heart, I love how this sort of read like, what's with all these jokes? Yeah. I know. What's going on here? Why? Let's get down to the brass tacks of what's with Susan MacTaggart.
Just tell me what hashtags I need to use and shut up.
Stop with the fun and the jaw and the laughs. What's all this Saturday Night Live about? I don't need these jokes. No, so Mike, to answer your question, I genuinely don't remember. I think I was making fun of the faux inspirational speakers one time on a ComicLab about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago.
It had to have been ages ago, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if someone knows what episode.
The first appearance.
And I don't even know if she was named at first. It was just sort of having fun and chase your dreams, Bradley, because the sun always shines where the shine don't sun or something. I don't know. And so
they weren't all winners. You're right.
Yeah. Listen, Brad literally telling me you ain't that pretty, Dave. That's great. So I don't know where it literally started from some conversation where we were talking about faux inspiration and how it's unhelpful basically to kind of lean into these, aphorisms of live, laugh, love. And however, a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people take great solace in that kind of thinking. And it is a valid form of book publishing, and it sells millions of dollars a year in books and stuff. And so anyway, and also I just enjoyed doing that voice, and I enjoyed poking fun at Brad every week when I was doing Susan. And so we just leaned into it. And so I think, Mike, that's where it came from. Brad, do you have a different memory than I do about where it came from?
I remember it very much the same. In other words, it's definitely not a parody of one specific person. It's more of a send-up of motivational speakers in general.
Yes.
And it was like anything else, like when you do something like that, and it just kind of feels fun to do the voice or to slide into that character. We just found an excuse to do it more and more often, and made it into a bit because, why not? We're here mainly to have fun. Anything useful that gets done on the side is purely gravy. We're just here
accidental.
To have fun.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, Mike, is that Brad and I enjoy the hell out of talking with each other, and one of the ways that Susan functions for our friendship is that it's totally a parallel or an orthogonal humor choice, and then I get to become someone else and make fun of Brad and joke around, and that's fun, and we get to make fun of inspirational speakers, and that's fun. So it really is just when you've been talking to someone for 9 years about a topic, it's fun to have new ways to talk about it and new ways to approach it. So anyway, that's the idea for that. And it's a fun question because I don't know why I just like the idea of what's with the jokes? Get back to the jaw. I don't want this laughter, the joy.
Well, now, if you had to choose between your favorite between Susan MacTaggart, Jimmy the cab driver, And who would be third character that you've routinely done on the show? I'm trying to think of another character.
Well, can I tell you, I hadn't done it yet, but there was a new character that I wanted to bring onto the show, Brad.
Really?
I wanted to bring on Reginald Wigglesby, who's going to be a British. He was going to be a British comics critic, and I hadn't brought him onto the show yet, but I wanted him to.
Wigglesby, the comics critic.
And so Reginald has not made an appearance yet, but I got to tell you, my favorite thing that we've ever done on the show in terms of voices has been Ziggy. We don't do him very often.
Oh my God, yes.
But just the sort of the downcast, self-identifying. Anytime we self-identify, it always makes me laugh. You're like, I'm Ziggy. I just enjoy the fact that Ziggy was just a sad sack piece of shit. He sold 1 million mugs.
Yeah, just such a sad.
And sold 1 million mugs and calendars. And like in the 80s, Ziggy was everywhere.
Do you remember at the very beginning of the show, 2018, I think it was, somebody asked about audio books for comics, and you did this whole bit about a Calvin and Hobbes audio book, but you had it like
an cab driver.
Yeah, it was like I remember one of the phrases you used is that hair looks like that kid's been pulled backwards through a hedge. And it was such a great, it was a little bit cab driver. It was a little bit crazy uncle. It was one of my favorite things you ever did.
A little bit semi-literate reader. You know, he was like, the tiger's off to the side. I don't know what the hell that guy's doing. He's, the tiger's like, but Brad, here's the thing. I don't think nobody else sees that tiger. I think only the kid sees the tiger. And I don't know. I think that kid, maybe he's got some problems, Brad, because ain't nobody else seeing that tiger. Anyway, so Mike, fantastic question. I want to thank you. And I want to thank again our sponsor for the show over at comiclabshop.com, Huion. The thing that we didn't mention too, I'm gonna say it straight out, even though it doesn't need to be said. Here's the thing. The prices on Huions are bonkers good.
Oh my God.
Bonkers good. I will say that all day and twice on Sundays. The prices are better than anybody else that you're going to find, and for the quality and the professionalism in the product, I'm drawing amazing stuff at like 1/4 the price of the competition.
Yes.
And so comiclabshop.com, that's where you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And that means it's my turn to say you've been listening to Comic Lab, the show about making comics and making a living from comics.
Your hosts have been my delightful friend, Brad Geiger. Turns out he's real. Not like that tiger. The tiger's not real, but Brad's
Believe
real.
me, a lot of people that see me walking down the street wish they were just seeing things.
But Brad's the editor of webcomics.com, and here's the little secret that nobody's going to tell you. He's also the creator of Evil Inc. at evilcomic.com, and he's the handsome co-host of that new drawing show over at wrongwayshow.com.
And my friend Dave Kellett, the co-director of the comics documentary Stripped, and the cartoonist of Sheldon at sheldoncomics.com, and Drive at drivecomic.com, and another handsome co-host along with our friend Kevin McShane at the new drawing show at wrongwayshow.com.
And the Comic Lab theme song is used with permission from Andy Creighton over at theworldrecord.net. And this episode and all episodes was edited by the ever wonderful, ever whimsical Matt Woodard of Woodsong Productions over at www.woodsong.media.
If you love Comic Lab, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. But don't forget to give us also a 5-star review on Spotify, because you know what we're doing there. They've been talking about it in the Spotify hallways all year long. We're burning up the podcast charts.
They have been talking about us in the hallways. Brad is right.
Over by the water cooler. They stand by the water cooler. They said, do you hear these Comic Lab guys? I had a podcast chart burned to a cinder.
But Chris did it right up, those guys. You wouldn't believe it. And so with a huge shout out and a thanks again over to Huion over at comiclabshop.com, where you are going to use the 5% off discount code of ComicLab5 when you get that Campus 22 3rd generation. I'm going to say Comic Lab is made possible by your support over at patreon.com/ComicLab. So I will go ahead and say that twice. Patreon.com/the tiger ain't real.
Okay, it's a stinger. Nobody listens this far into the show. They've all turned us off by now. Do you want to try Reginald Wigglesbottom, the Comics Corner critic?
It's Reginald Wigglesby. How dare you?
What did I say?
He didn't go to 7 years of Oxford to have you say his name wrong, Brad. It's Reginald Wigglesby. God damn you. The man got a doctorate in comics and caricature study from the University of Oxford, 7 years, and you're going to mispronounce his name? Brad, get his name out of your mouth. Who was it that the Oscars slapped? Was that Will Smith?
Oh, it was Will Smith slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah, get Reginald Wigglesby's name out of your mouth, Brad.
Dr. Wigglesby.
He's Dr. Wigglesby.
I know you've got some thoughts on Crazy Cat that you wanted to share today on the anniversary of the first time the mouse threw the brick. Any thoughts, any reminiscences?
Oh, Bradley, so nice to see you. Lovely to see you, Bradley. Oh, so happy to be welcomed on board here to talk about comics. So, yes, Crazy Cat indeed. 110 years ago, threw the first brick at the mouse, whose name escapes me, Bradley. It escapes me right out the window. I don't remember the name of the mouse on Crazy Cat. One can assume if the cat was crazy, the mouse was less so.
Ignatz, right? What, wasn't Ignatz
right.
After the Ignatz Awards?
Bradley, if one needs to show one's friends up, one need not do it publicly. One can pull one aside and say, Reginald, it's actually Ignatz. I'm going to mute the microphone and you can come back in. That's normally decorum, Bradley, on the cast of pods. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. That's my trial run for Reginald Wigglesby.
That's a great, okay, we got to find a reason to bring Reginald Wigglesby in for like a mid-show
Reginald
update.
Wigglesby,
yeah, Dr. Wigglesby. And it'll just be, I'll make up a historical fact that doesn't exist, and you can talk about it.
I think history moments with Dr. Reginald Wigglesby,
Yes.
you know?
And it'll be something absolute, like the first time that Drabble realized he had both of his eyes on the same side of his face.
And we kind of do it like the 3,000-year-old man. We just like, it's a prompt and then off to the races, you know, that kind of thing. All right. Yeah, I love it. And then a couple years from now, Mike can write in an email and go, hey, what's with Dr. Wigglesby?
What's the deal with Run Professor Wigglesby? Is it a joke or something?
Is it supposed to be funny? Says Mike as he crushes my hopes and dreams.